Alright, so I know a lot of people that didn't want to see this movie at all because of Melissa McCarthy, and they're tired of her, and I can understand why. For me, Melissa McCarthy has been in two movies that I really thought were funny, and two movies that I thought were awful. The two movies I really liked that she was in was Bridesmaids and Identity Thief. The two I absolutely hated were The Heat and Tammy. So let's find out where Spy falls, shall we? So Spy is directed by Paul Feig, who brought us Bridesmaids and also The Heat. And plus, before I saw the movie, I heard a lot of good things about the action in Spy, so I started getting a little pumped for it, especially when it actually has a better score on Rotten Tomatoes than Kingsman. What? But anyway, Spy is actually a really good comedy. I liked it. I laughed a lot. I thought the action was handled well. There's some really gruesome and bloody moments. It is definitely rated R for a reason, people. Melissa McCarthy is actually really good, even though she plays a little bit of Tammy meets the character in The Heat. That's pretty much who she is in this movie. But it's done well, actually. So basically she's like Tammy a little bit because she's this desk job girl and she doesn't think she's anything special, and she's sitting behind this desk as the other spies do the real work, so to speak. And then when she actually gets into the spy position through means I won't spoil, but when she gets to that, she becomes a little bit more of the Heat character, because she becomes undercover and she becomes more bossy and more crude. Melissa McCarthy's character was actually efficient in this movie, and she wasn't like the spy that bumbles around in action comedies and eventually actually gets something right towards the end. No, she was actually playing a bunch of people, and she was efficient at being this badass, and she was actually good. She actually did her job, you know? Which is something we take for granted in action comedies because we don't see that too often, especially with the female lead. Jason Statham was actually really funny in this movie, and I know he can do funny stuff because I have seen him in slightly more comedic roles, but he's sort of like he's making fun of the badass type character because he thinks he's such a top-notch, badass character. He's making these sort of Chuck Norris type jokes for himself. But then when you actually see him in action in this film, he's like a bumbling idiot, honestly. And it's really handled well, actually. Jude Law is great, which he usually is. And Rose Byrne plays the very snobbish and spoiled brat character really well in this movie, to a point where her character was annoying, but it was clearly that's what it was meant to be, so I had no problem with it. Plus, I have to give it another little credit because it does make fun of the type of villains that kill their guards indiscriminately, because Rose Byrne is that character in this movie, and there's this point in the film where she's like, "Where's my guards?" Well, you frickin' killed them all! I had a fun time in this movie, and even though it's gonna get the same score as the other two movies I like that Melissa McCarthy is in, I honestly think this is the best film that Melissa McCarthy has been in that I've seen. I think there's this one little part towards the end of the film that I honestly was annoyed with, but anyone looking for moments of ex machina in movies will be annoyed with this part probably, because ever since I was hearing something about ex machina in movies and stuff, and it just like happened at the right time where I looked for it and it was there at the end, and that's someone comes out of nowhere and saves Melissa McCarthy's character at the very end. And it's not too big of a deal because thankfully Melissa McCarthy does something towards the end of the movie that makes the hero, but at the same time this ex machina happens, and it is really it is really out of nowhere, and it's a little ridiculous. But yeah, overall, that little instance is the only thing that I really hated about the movie, but other than that, I thought it was really funny. The action was executed well. There's some really gruesome moments. The acting was good. And overall, it is a really fun, really good time. So I have to give Spy 4 stars. It's very close to 4.5 for me, but I think that Ex Machina bumped it from 4.5 to 4, because I think it was originally going to be 4.5 if it weren't for that little Ex Machina. So yeah, Spy is 4, and what did you think about Spy? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you just too tired of Melissa McCarthy to go? And if that's the case, then what is your favorite Melissa McCarthy movie, I guess? Mine is Spy. So as always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was Just My Opinion.